necessarily have to be achievement. I like the way you open the door for your younger sister instead of slamming the door. That's descriptive, and it encourages them to repeat that behavior rather than saying, good job. Now I know I only have a couple of more minutes, but also wanted to say that it's important for us to hand over control, giving students some opportunity, whether it's at home or at school, to decide what they want to learn, what books they want to read, for example, because if they have some choice in what they're learning, then they're more likely to complain, first of all, and they're more likely to enjoy what they're doing. And if you predict that if you ask them, what book do you want to read or what educational game do you want to play, and they say nothing, give them multiple choice. And that'll solve that problem right away. And just resilience. I think that's so important, just by giving examples of people who have failed and succeeded, sharing all of your examples. I see a room full of professionals, full of successful stories, just making sure that we all share those stories, because all of us have a different journey. And I know it hasn't been, easy for a lot of us, lots of roadblocks, just sharing that experience and encouraging them that, again, it's not the end of the world if you fail once. Do I have any more time? Okay, I think we can probably leave some time for questions. I did want to do something that was just for fun, because this is sort of a different delivery style for me. I usually like to do more discussion-led lectures. So do we have 2 more minutes? Okay. If we can go to the slide just for fun. Okay, so I'm sure we've all heard about this. And the whole idea is just to reflect on whether we're positive or negative, optimist, pessimist. So that's the whole idea. We all know that. So yesterday, as we convened yesterday evening, I was just listening to some of the professions around the group. So I thought it might be fun to give some stereotypical answers of this question. So bear with me. Let me know if you agree. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so how would a physician answer this question? A physician might say that the glass is not empty at all, it's filled half with water and half with air, hence on the whole it's completely filled. Dr. Arthur, do you agree? Yes? Okay. School teachers, they might say that it's not about whether the glass is half full or half empty, it's whether there is something in the glass at all. Yes? Okay, moving on. The professional speaker doesn't really care if the glass is half full or half empty. He just knows that starting this discussion will give him 10 more minutes to figure out why his PowerPoint isn't working. Next slide, please. The cynic wonders who drank the other half. The worrier stays up worrying that the remaining half will evaporate by next morning. The fanatic thinks it's completely full even though it clearly isn't. The inquisitive troublemaker, my favorite kind of students, they want to know what's in the glass anyway, so they drink the rest of it. And finally, I think it's personal coaches and mentors, which includes all of us. We need to let students know, youth know, that the glass does empty out, and it will depend on circumstances. We need to remind the drinker, i.e. the student, that he can always fill the glass when he wishes. Thank you very much.
There are many obstacles that students must endure in today's educational obstacles, and many is proving to their parents that education is the best investment. And what we started doing as an organization is having parent nights. We started this about 2 months ago. We would go pass flyers out in the mosque and actually provide them with information, data, charts, and have them answer any questions that they have. At this moment, we'll break into a 5-minute break. If you guys have any questions for any speakers that we had, please feel free to ask them. Thank you. Yemeni Americans, which will be presented by Almasaodi. Almasaodi, I would like to call him up on stage. The next presenter will be Fatul Mutahar. Almasaodi works with e-business. He's an e-business instructor and currently a project manager for Boeing Airlines. He's on his way to the stage. Welcome.
السلام عليكم. كيف حالكم؟ First, I want to ask a question. This beautiful picture here, beautiful faces. Can you guys recognize who these people are? Yemeniyin, good. We're moving. Any specific names? Can you mention names?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know Abdul Shamiri.
Shamiri.
I know this Haid Saeed and Amsani. His name is
Ahmed Had.
yeah.
Any others? Okay, well, we're not going to take a long time, but this is actually a scan from a book that I bought from Yemen. I think the Investment Authority produces it. It's called محركو الاقتصاد اليمني. The Yemeni economy engine, I guess, or the engine of the Yemeni economy. These are the biggest investors, businessmen in Yemen. They talk about 100 of them, their success stories. It's a really good book. I encourage you to buy it or try to get a version or a copy of it. So I pose a question, why couldn't we recognize them all? Although they're big, you know, Haid Saeed's son, Adban, Abdul Hassan Jayyid, Ramdan. There's a long list, but we don't know their faces. We hear about them, but we don't know them, right? So the topic I'm going to talk about is entrepreneurship. So if I can get a raise of hands, who knows what is entrepreneurship or familiar with the concept, just raise your hand, please. MashaAllah. Okay, and I don't need to present it. Introducing myself, just giving you a little bit of background about myself. My name is Almasaodi. I have a master's in technology and innovation management, and I work for Boeing as a project manager in their e-commerce department. So since most of us know what is entrepreneurship, can somebody tell me what is it in بالعربي? Yes.
مقاولة تعهدات.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Anybody else?
رجل أعمال.
رجل أعمال. Okay. Other than that, what is the exact meaning? Maybe that's yeah. What is the exact meaning? Entrepreneurship. These are kind of descriptions, but what is the exact meaning? How come we all know it, but we don't know it in Arabic? Is it in our culture? Do you ever hear somebody, your parent telling you, "Hey, I want you to be an entrepreneur"? So there's a lot of I've heard. Yes. Tajir. Okay, I like that one. I like to keep it simple and say Tajir. Although, yes.
رجل أعمال.
رجل أعمال.
مستثمر.
مستثمر. Okay. They say yes.
مفكر.
Okay, so I'll give you, there's actually a whole debate about it, right? But I think مبادر, رائد أعمال, عصامي, رجل أعمال, تاجر. I like تاجر, keeping it simple so everybody can relate to it, right? It's a little bit different than tijara, typical tijara, but that's a good, those are different definitions. So what is entrepreneurship? So I'll define it so we can, because there's no real one word that translates to it. Even in English, it's kind of a vague term because it's actually a French term. But it's basically, it's the quality of being an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur is a person an individual who starts his own business, usually assumes risk. بيع مشتري. Okay, there you go. So it's a person who starts his own business, usually assumes risk, in order to produce innovative goods and services. Okay, so بيع مشتري بس شوية. يعني a little bit different with a style. Okay. So I'm going to talk about three concepts related to entrepreneurship that makes it a little bit different than بيع مشتري, right? So I'm going to relate to that. Okay. And you know, excuse me, I know here we're talking about education. I'm going to try to connect this to education, but I'm trying to bring a different perspective into how can Yemenis succeed. So usually entrepreneurs assume risk. They don't go the typical way, شغل في المحل, go open a mahal, it's easy, you know, it's very, you know, the trend is very clear. They usually step into areas that are new and they assume risk, financial risk, time risk, commitment risk. يعني في إيش مغامرة, مخاطرة, okay? And then innovation, they don't do the typical. They في إبداع, ابتكار, شيء جديد, okay? So it's something new, they add something new when they start their business. And, you know, we struggle with this. Yemeni community struggles with this. We are really good business people, but we imitate 100%. إيش تعمل؟ كيف عملت؟ Next to it, right? But we need innovation. We need to look at areas where we didn't do any business, services and goods that are not in the market, and we try to innovate and bring something new. And then action. Entrepreneurs don't talk about, you know, they don't dream, you know, no, they really take action. They take steps, they develop plans, and they move forward. There's other things related to entrepreneurship, but these are 3 things that I wanted to highlight. So why entrepreneurship? Why talk about it, especially in this audience and in this conference? It's important. It's very important. And I'll mention 3 areas where I think it's really important for Yemenis here and also our country, Yemen. Education. You know, I tried to come up with a link so I can make this relevant. So how is entrepreneurship related to education? Of course, you know, I'll have to admit, some of the most famous entrepreneurs, the biggest entrepreneurs, most successful entrepreneurs are they dropped out of school, right? There's that. But usually they went to school and then they figured out something and saw a big opportunity and then dropped out. But the majority of them were really successful in school. You cannot be innovative and bring something new if you know nothing. If you only know what your neighbor does or what your uncle does, that's all you're going to do. But if you go out there, explore, and see what's out there, you know, scientific, you know, this is not only in business, this could be in pharmaceuticals, medical. Entrepreneurship is not only business. You could apply it to anything. If you're an engineer and you succeed in coming up with an invention, you could commercialize it and take it to the commercial world, right? And I myself found, you know, entrepreneurship had a huge impact on my educational period. First year, second year in college, I was, you know, just going there for 3 reasons. Pleasing my dad and mom, number 1, right? Second thing is shahada, you know, shahada in America, that's very important. Third thing is the job. You know, you want a really good job. If you want the job, that's good. But that's really risky because you're going through this educational program and you're studying for these goals. At least that was my situation. I wasn't studying for the actual education. You know, I wasn't trying to absorb concepts. I was trying to pass tests and get a really good GPA. That was my focus. But there's a difference between going to school to really learn and going to school to please others or attain some specific goals. So the difference is, if we can convince the youth to go to school and convince them that you are in school to understand things, to go outside and start your own business, succeed, and become, differentiate yourself, there's going to be a huge difference. Instead, you know, if you're going to school and you're trying to get a good grade or please your dad or get a job, you don't have a really strong vested interest in the education. But when you know that your business, your whole future is based on how are you going to understand things, your approach to education will be different. That was exactly the case that I went through. And when I was a junior, I got introduced to entrepreneurship and learned a lot about it. It just changed my whole life. I changed the way I approach education. Unemployment, you know, this comes back to Yemen. Also maybe here, the economy. Entrepreneurship is really the engine of the economy. How do big companies, Ford, Microsoft, Apple, all the US economy is based on entrepreneurship. Where do these companies come from? It's not the government. The government is barely running itself. It's the entrepreneurs. They form the companies. And this is very important for Yemen. You know, the youth we have a lot of graduates, but there is no jobs. Well, they should be creating the jobs. It's us, we are the ones who should be creating the jobs, not waiting for the government to create the jobs or for the established entrepreneurs to come and start more businesses. We have to take charge and start our own businesses. And poverty, there's always this, you know, wherever entrepreneurship flourishes, the social economic conditions improve in that region.